Hello, welcome to the Generation X-Wing podcast, a modern look at a retro lifestyle. My name is Rob Williams, and I'm here with
Jamie Pale Rider,
as well as
Steve Hosenose Lewis,
as well as
Steve 3.
We have a special guest today. It is fantastic to have him on the show. We've had the opportunity to talk to him in the past for a 501st telethon, and then he came by the show last week, and he's back again. He is the Vane the Pirate from Skeleton Crew and Mandalorian, but he's been in so many other movies. Another movie that I really liked him in is Red One. I enjoyed him as this spooky sort of bird slap fight judge. But it is Marti Matulis. Say hello, Marty.
Hello. Thanks for having me back after I almost missed last week.
Technical difficulties, sir.
Yeah, you showed up fashionably late.
Yeah,
stole the show and then left.
I'm used to that. That's what we're trained in. Barely making it, showing up late, making excuses after the fact.
You made a greater impact in that amount of time than we did the entire show. Yeah. I got two shorts out of that, just brief moment that's already gotten some likes. So thank you so much for that.
And everybody was in the chiropractor for the week from doing this.
Yeah.
So far, the aspect is holding with the laptop.
Awesome. Nice. Marty, thanks so much for coming by on the show. I want to, first of all, thank you for having a chat with us way back in the 501st telethon. It really meant a lot to not just us, me and Steve, three who were able to chat with you, but it also meant a lot to the 501st Legion and those people that we like to support. And thank you for taking the time out and chatting with us and supporting a good cause.
Anytime. Yeah, it's a great cause. And I'm happy to do anything to try to bring a little attention to that.
We already have Tony in the room. Hello, Tony. Hey. Good to see it. Weirdos are here. Hey, weirdos. How are you? Welcome back. Looking forward to seeing you guys at Fan Expo.
Weirdos.
Yeah, weirdos.
And so today, we're going to be talking. This is a movie that I think has been on our list for years and years and years, but it was like, I shouldn't say movie, I should say franchise, because this was your pick, Marty, when you came by the show, and we talked after the 501st telethon, and we wanted to invite you on the show. We said, pick a movie, and you picked Indiana Jones. In fact, we had to talk about the entire franchise because it is such a great franchise. It means something to us all. Each one of us here around the same age or so, and it's just like it's one of those movies we saw as kids that kind of stuck with us. And Marty, why in particular did you choose Indiana Jones for our discussion today?
Well, I certainly love what it has become in the culture with all of the sequels and with the popularity of Harrison over the years and everything. But as a kid, what was it, 81 when Raiders came out? I was 11, was primed for this kind of a story. It did everything right. It blew my mind. It was the only thing to supplant Star Wars in my enthusiasm as a kid. And then after that, it's like, oh my God, everything is Raiders now. We got to go play Raiders. We're not going to play Star Wars today. We're playing Raiders. And then as I've gotten a little older and a little more discerning in my tastes, I've seen what a beautiful movie it is. Like, that thing is shot so well. It's gorgeous to look at. Williams' score obviously is amazing. Like, I can't find a flaw in the original one. And then Temple was great. Crusade was great. And then on and on. Here we go.
Yeah. Jamie, want to ask you, obviously Raiders of the Lost Ark and let's just say, I'm going to say Indiana Jones, just cover all three movies here. What impact has that had to you in your youth or your movie watching career, I guess?
My career as a professional movie watcher.
As a professional movie watcher, yes.
I put in the hours. I've put in the time, that's for sure. I think it just, between that and Star Wars and like Blade Runner and Aliens and all that, it basically just almost forces you to watch, I think, better movies than kids are typically watching when you're around that time. Like you're getting exposed to these amazing directors and just like at the top of their game, just putting out incredible work. Here's a kid just watching Indiana Jones punch Nazis. And like Marty said, as you get older and your tastes become a little more discerning, you look at it with a different eye, but it's still just as good, maybe even better.
Hose Nose, how about you? What's the connection? What's your connection with Indiana Jones?
Well, like the rest of us, I saw it as a child, and it just grabbed me. I think talking about the original, the Raiders, the first three, we're kind of talking about this off air a bit, but the realism, especially in Raiders, it felt real, right? It's like I know that world. I know who Nazis are, and I want to punch them, right? So, and that just
Perfect
drawed me in.
program.
Yeah. And and then like the exposure to Spielberg and Lucas and all that stuff too. Just hook, line, and sinker right off the bat.
Steve 3, what about you?
Yeah, it's a classic. I think the reason none of us have picked it is because I don't think we could do anything but praise it. It's just a quintessential adventure. It's a hero that we just love. It was better than James Bond. It was better than anything else we had. And to be honest with you, it was almost better than the Han Solo we saw before. It was just pure adventure. It was pure escapism. It was pure run off into the woods and be Indiana Jones. It was great. And it's still to this day.
For me, I like how you mentioned Han Solo, because for me, Han Solo was so good. But when I see him, it's like all Solo. It's all just, we get to focus on Harrison Ford, and I want to get into this later on about how strong Harrison Ford is as his character. But it's just, we got to see that swagger, that style, and just that adventure that I think we as all as kids want to just kind of watch on a big screen, or even be or play out in the forest. We want the adventure and the whip of the whip and stuff. It's just it's something that I think all kids kind of dig. I want to ask you, Marty, you were mentioning off air about cinematography and Douglas Slocum. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I think as you're saying, like, it's just a beautiful thing to look at. And Spielberg seemed to surround himself early on in his career with older, wiser people who'd been around the block a few times. And for those who don't know, Douglas Slocum, cinematographer, I think for all three of the first films, he went back in his career, I think, to the 1940s in Britain, doing a lot of black and white stuff. So he was trained as a black and white film a cameraman, cinematographer. He did like most of the early Alec Guinness films, like Lavender Hill Mob and Kind Hearts and Cornets, I think was his. Anyway, so clearly knew his stuff. And applying that to color, Spielberg obviously was aware of him, grabbed this guy, and I think, he's largely to credit for the look and the balance. If you look at a frame in the film and ever just pause and just see where the light things are versus the dark things, and does it feel like the weight is good? And I mean, you can go off the deep end on the cinematography, but the skill set of Doug Slocum is not to be underestimated. He's a master.
I know that you love the cinematography. I was mentioning off air about a YouTube channel and how you love the camera work and want to explore that. What is some of your favorite shots in the original trilogy that really just kind of grab you?
So many good shots. There's that balance when when they go to Nepal. Like when they go to Nepal, and there's the just preceding the big conflagration and the fight, when Tot is just about to tell her, "Let me show you what I am used to," and the camera kind of pans to him. There's a cross or a window pane that's like a cross, and because it's obviously breaking the frame, he's broken the frame, and you've got Marion up here with the guys grabbing her. You got a couple of guys down here. The camera kind of slides. You see Tot stoking the fire with the thing he's about to torture her with. Just, shots within shots, and then a camera move revealing even more shots. Like, that's a great example of like some of the cinematographic joy I get out of Raiders.
The lighting every time, it just a bar of light on the eyes is all you need when he walks into a room or so. Steve,
Well, but
Steve 3, what are you going to say?
Just some of those reveals, though. I mean, I can't stop thinking about the first movie alone when I think of stuff, and the reveal we get of Indy in the beginning. Like, I believe they shot the beginning at the end as well, from what I remember. Is the beginning shot we see in it's actually in Kauai, I think, right, in Hawaii. That beginning shot we see was at the end of filming everything else. So we got the real Indy at that point. But just the reveal, the crack at the whip and the turn, and here he is. I love that. How can you not love that? And then when they walk into the bar, you get the shadow cast, you get the hat. And I think that's what they put a lot of effort into, was the recognizable silhouette of Indiana Jones. The hat, the whip, just everything about him. You can see that silhouette and you just know, right? It's fantastic. Just every reveal of everything we see in that movie for the first time is so well shot.
Jose, about you? What about you? What are some of the moments that just kind of? We'll talk about maybe a bit of the first one, but not limiting to it. But what are some of the things that just kind of grabbed you?
It's just the character, Indy himself. Like he's such an interesting character. He's a scholar, but he's this adventure guy. You know, he's fighting for good, and he's just such a fun, great character. And it's kind of interesting how you're talking about Han Solo. I think for me, it's kind of interesting how I totally separate the two. Like I know that's Han Solo, but it's not. That's Indiana Jones, right? Like I don't, when I'm watching Indiana Jones, I don't think about Star Wars at all. And I think that's just a great nod to the tip of the hat to how good of a movie and a character he is.
He's like Han Solo's older brother, older and wiser and less cocky. Like he's the first one in the fight, whereas Han Solo would talk his way out of it and lead the other way.
He's the one who went to university.
You're right. Right.
I like how you said scholar. I think that's one of the things I really dug about the character. He wasn't just a meathead. He was smart, crafty, but also highly intelligent when it came to history and just all that sort of stuff. It just wasn't treasure hunting. It was understanding the history of these items. Jamie, I've noticed
that was thanks to his dad.
That was thanks to his dad. Jamie, I'm noticing you're wearing the hat. Where'd you get the hat first?
I can't believe I forgot to put my hat on before we started recording. There's a bit of a kerfuffle and a whirlwind as I was joining, but yeah, I've had this hat for 30 years, and it kind of fucks me up a little bit saying that I've had this hat for 30 years because that's a long time. But I don't know if this is going to work or not. But oh yeah, there we go.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a genuine Indiana Jones hat. It's from the Disney parks when the Indiana Jones ride first opened. I've only ever been to Disneyland once in my life, and it was the year that the Indy ride opened to 4-hour lineups.
It was 95, right?
Fuck, don't say that, dude.
I think it was 95 that they opened.
Just yesterday.
Yeah, 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
Over 30 years. But yeah.
It looks good on you, sir.
I'll tell you something else about these movies, though, that I don't know if you guys find this, but when I watch them, because they're pretty much all so good, right? Especially the first three we keep talking about. But when I watch them, I always forget that there's a certain scene in one. And I don't know why, because I know the movies and I love it so much. And I'll be watching and I go, oh, yeah, that's right. That's in this one. And that used to always get me. I love the Matt Broom scene in Raiders, but I always forget about the submarine scene when they're on the pirate ship trying to escape. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this scene, because it's a classic, right? With the mirror. And I just forget about it because I think you kind of mix them all up and you get them all confused. So it's always exciting to watch it.
Those scenes are so short in these movies too, because they really did structure it like a serial with those little chapters, right? And each one is so distinct, such a distinct environment for each one. And yeah, it's phenomenal. Even in the initial story concept that the three guys did when they were trying to conceive of what to do with the story of the original movie, you can see they were talking about elements that they stripped out and put into the next two. Like they had all of these ideas and they're like,
James Bond lineage, right?
Yeah, James Bond. And like, was it going to be Nazis? Was it going to be Chinese guys? Was it going to be, they overpacked the idea session and then just kind of basically trotted it out as time went on.
I heard, and you probably know, Marty, I heard that Spielberg and Lucas were kind of kicking around they had different ideas. That Lucas wanted it to be, what it pretty much turned out, and Spielberg wanted to kind of take it a little more sci-fi-y, a little more James Bond, and have the bad guy have like a machine gun arm and stuff like that. And Lucas was like, no.
Yeah, Spielberg's ideas seem to go more towards the extreme, kind of the cartoony, or even more like just kind of fantasy elements.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't one of the things they wanted to do a haunted house.
Bring it back. What's that?
It wasn't one of the ones they wanted to do was Indian haunted house, going up doing against ghosts, and they kiboshed it.
I can't remember if I read that one, but that's. I'm glad
that's hard to punch a ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just don't look at them.
But the series is able to be grounded like that without any of the robotic arms or anything like that. But at the same time, still dive into a little bit of the sort of the magic. We see the Ark and all the ghosts that come out of there, or even like just this. You see like all this I'm sorry, my brain's half working right now.
Everything involves the supernatural, right?
Like supernatural. That's the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of supernatural.
You have the weird voodoo powers in Temple, and then we're back to religion and the Holy Grail in the third one. And it always ends up coming back around to some kind of element of the supernatural to make things just a little bit weirder than real life.
Do you guys remember the first time you watched it and you saw the knight in the cave at the end?
Love that guy.
So right? Good.
Did you expect that at all when you watched the movie?
No.
So good.
That gets me to this day, especially when Senior turns around and looks, and the knight kind of raises his hand on that music cue, and like, I see you. Like, amazing. They could see each other across time. It was beautiful.
Yeah.
If I got to ask this question, I'll go around the horn. I'll start with Marty. Of the three movies, how would you rank them? Which one's first, second?
You are cruel. It's always going to be Raiders of the Lost Ark that's nearest and dearest to my heart, and then I would go in order. I think I have to go in order. I mean, Temple. I can appreciate that they aimed for a darker tone when I was young enough that was okay for me. I wasn't used to that. Kind of confused me, and I was like, oh no, I liked it. It was awesome. And then by the time the third one came out, I was mid-teens, I guess, mid-late teens, and the elements with the father and the son really, really rang true. So yeah, I would say that I was the right age for each of them to rank them in order of joy and love and appreciation.
Jamie, what about you? You almost don't want to answer the question.
Well, I mean, it's the top rank is easy for me. It's Raiders. Like we talked about this before, and the reason why I haven't brought Raiders up specifically as a movie to watch is it's a perfect movie to me. It's a 10 out of 10. And like that to me isn't as interesting as a discussion as what was on my movie was Temple of Doom, because I saw it as being the most kind of, for lack of a better term, controversial. I expected more of a divisive conversation around it. I love it. It's still like 8.5. But for me, it's Raiders, Crusade, Temple.
Hosnos?
Same as Jamie. Raiders, Crusade, Temple. It's funny though. You're talking about fathers and the last one. I saw Crusade in the theater with my dad and my mom, which never happens. I never went to the theater, and my dad drove me fucking nuts. He was sitting beside me, and he was that guy going, "Yeah, of course that happened. Yeah, sure." Sitting there, just like, you shut the fuck up.
Just ripping you out of the magic. Just taking
it was
you out.
So infuriating. I love my father, but I've never been that angry at him and watching a movie before my life.
Steve 3, what about you?
Yeah, boringly enough, I guess, for anyone listening, it's the same for me. It's Raiders, it's Crusade, followed by Temple of Doom. But then going forward on that, I would then say that I really enjoyed the last one. The last one they put out, I enjoyed it. Now, is it groundbreaking and it can take over the original 3? That doesn't really happen in life because of the nostalgia you have as a kid watching it. But I would watch the last one before I'd watch Crystal Skull. So that's the order for me on all of them.
So my question then for, I guess, all you guys is, how many times have you watched the 4 and 5?
I've watched
twice. Oh, sorry.
Oh
Steve.
no, yeah, but he didn't pick. Go ahead.
Crystal Skull twice, and the latest one once.
Yeah, I've watched the Crystal Skull 3 or 4 times actually. I enjoy the Crystal Skull more than I enjoyed the second one. I like, my order is actually Crusade first, and then Indiana Jones, Raiders, Crystal Skull, and then number 2. See, I can't even remember number 2 for some reason. Blanking out. Today's been a rough day. And
Temple of Doom, Rob.
Temple of Doom. Thank you. And then finally, I flat out can't remember the last one. I've seen it once, and I was like, okay, that's enough. I wasn't into it. Dial of Destiny. I wasn't into it. And Tony, we aren't ignoring it. It's just, I think we will be talking about the last 2 here and there, but I think we're so strongly connected with the original 3 franchise, and I think a lot of people are, and I don't. And Steve, you're saying you don't want to kind of rag too much on the last 2, but it is so far removed in time that sometimes it just, we're looking at it with older eyes now, I think. Mm-hmm. Would you agree with that, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I mean, come in there, we're watching it now after seeing such amazing sort of transformation and stuff. But what I appreciate about it is, I honestly feel that Harrison Ford commands a lot of what happens in these movies. I honestly feel they rely on him to steer the path of Indiana Jones. And I respect what they came out and tried to do, which was show the beat up version, the wrung out version. We don't get that with a lot of heroes, right? Mm-hmm. We get washed up heroes brought back into the FBI or whatever it is to go out and do this because they were the only one that had the guts to do it in the past. We get all of that, but we never really see the washed out older. And then he even mentions it while climbing up that cliff face, right? He's got all of these things wrong with his spine and his knees. And he's like, you don't get it. You don't get what I've been through, you know? And he's been shot, he's been beat. And then we see him at that point of his life, just kind of, I appreciated that. And I think that's why I like the movie a lot. Yeah. And definitely before Crystal Skull.
I know that's did you guys catch the documentary about Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones? It was out in Disney Plus. I think it's a more recent one. It was coming around the Dial of Destiny was out. And Spielberg would talk about how he's always wanted to do movies where he watches Indiana Jones age and deal with life after, as he gets older and still trying to chase these things. And is he getting too old for this shit, as I guess? And it was interesting to see him kind of talk about that, and it does look kind of cool when you see Indy get older. But a part of us, a lot of us want to see him in his youth and do the swashbuckling sort of thing. But I want to ask you, Marty, a lot of Indiana Jones, what makes a really good Indiana Jones movie is the people they partner him up with, whether it's a leading lady or like Sala, or in some cases his dad. Which characters stuck out to you throughout the entire series as a good secondary character to just kind of go along with the ride?
Well, certainly bringing Connery in as his father was potentially risky, of overshadowing your own leading man, but testament to Sean Connery's ability. He slid right into the appropriate pocket for that character within that movie franchise. I don't feel like he was showy. I feel like it was a good match for Harrison. So I loved the interplay of those two in that one. Going to the last one, Dial of Destiny, that's probably more of where I would go towards a critique of it, is that I didn't think that the introduction of Phoebe Waller-Bridge was necessarily great for Indiana Jones. I feel like it was a very, very much a separate element. Obviously they were kind of antagonistic for a while, but more than that, in this exploration of Indiana Jones as an older man, I could have just hung with a good story about Indiana Jones as an older man, not so much else to try to keep it exciting and interesting. Like, let's have a reflective piece on what it is to be an older man. Great. You know, a little simpler would have probably whoever they paired him up with in that sense. You know, if it was him and Marion just reflecting on their life, you know, a little more talky, a little less adventure, I'd probably be okay with that as well, as certainly as a pairing and as well as a story.
I wonder if the imposing mouse would be spending, because I think that last movie was the most expensive movie made, and I don't know if they would spend the budget on just no action, which is probably why they had to bring someone in.
100% correct. Yeah, it would have had to have not been under the banner at that point. You know.
Yeah, I kind of see something more like The Incredibles when you see The Incredibles being interviewed, sort of off camera, and it's like a documentary. That would a Disney Plus special of Indy and Marion, a documentary of all the stuff. It'd be a flashback for every movie. That would be great. You know, as if they were telling the grandkids all about the adventures they got up to.
Hosens, what about you? What characters kind of stood out for you as the pairing? I like how Marty mentioned it that way.
Well, I definitely love Connery and them together. I think they work so well together. I always loved, I don't know, pairing, but Sala.
Yeah.
Geez, I'm blanking on his name. James.
John
Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
I thought he was great and how they got along, and he was kind of like his little, not a fixer, but you know, I always liked that character.
How about you,
he was
Jamie?
He was like Q to James Bond.
Yeah.
Jamie, what about you?
All of them except for Willie, I guess.
Except for who?
Willie Scott. Willie Scott was difficult.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I'm not about ragging on stuff too hard, but yeah, she was probably my least favorite out of all of them. But I really liked Elsa Schneider as the femme fatale. She was great.
Yeah,
she was so good, and like held her own.
Yeah,
and yeah, the turn was fun. It was a ton of fun, especially because Indy's dad was involved with her as well. That was hilarious.
Yep.
Ships are passing the night.
That was such a great scene when she's whispering in his ear.
Yeah,
and they're both listening because they're tied to the chair. That's such a good
Thank
scene.
you. I gotta give a shout out to Denham Elliott. Brody, Marcus Brody is probably one of my favorite side characters because the way he was brought in the first one, obviously very educated, very supportive. Kind of, he came across as a person who knew how to dot the I's and cross the T's. But when they bring him back in the third one, he's slightly bumbling. He's the way he built him up, like he's like Indiana Jones builds up Brody as this person, like he can hide anywhere, he can speak 13 languages, you won't even find him. And here he is wandering around. He's wandering around the middle of nowhere
already.
And Sala just happens to find him. So I love Marcus Brody.
Brody in the first movie, you know, when he's coming to Indiana Jones and presenting that the museum's going to go for it and give him the money to go search it out, right? To go find the medallion. He's the bad guy there. If you think about like bureaucratically speaking, like I love Brody, but when Indy asks him and he's sitting on the edge, so the museum's going to get the Ark, right? He goes like, "Oh, yeah." He's lying his ass off. Watch it. He's lying his ass off. He knows.
He dropped the ball.
He's kind of like this, you know, dual. He's playing both sides on that one. So therefore, much more interesting character.
On a side note to that, it's kind of interesting to bring that up at the museum as somebody who is a museum professional.
Yes.
It's kind of interesting now to look at it through those eyes as an adult, and it's like, ooh, this is not how you collect things, and this is I think what we call looting. And where he's like, and he's trying to get that ticket, and he's like, here, I got these really great pieces, like, yeah, for sure we'll buy those, right? Like and even the line where he goes, it belongs in a museum. I'm like,
maybe not yours.
Maybe not yours.
The museum of the country of origin, right?
Yeah, right. So it's kind of interesting for me to see it that way now, right?
I never even thought about that.
Anyone but the Nazis.
Time and decade that it's in, and great that they kind of show that that's a blind spot for all these people.
Mhm.
Like they're like, of course we should take it and take it back to our civilized country. Yeah, rough.
VJ babies, hello, welcome back. Hey, weirdos, also say Raiders is the gold standard for an action adventure movie, and you can't disagree with that. It really is. Yeah. It's just so much fun. I gotta talk about some of the villains. In grade 6, this is when around the time I started realizing what Indiana Jones was. My teacher, Mr. Bahana, in grade 6 at Happy Valley Elementary School. Yes, that was the actual name. My teacher, he would not stop talking about how wonderful Tot was. And he would do his impressions that, yes, and he just kind of do that weird breathing that he does when he gets excited. And it just kind of spooked me as a student. But I kind of I look at him now, I think of Mr. Bahana, but he was so good as an evil person. No nonsense, creepy looking, evil. I just loved him as a villain. Who were some of the villains that stood out for you guys, Marty?
Oh, Tot for sure. He was having I've never seen a bad guy have such a good time being a bad guy. Most bad guys are so serious and self-important. Tot was cracking himself up. Loved it.
Yeah.
Man, after that, I'm just going to stick with Tot. Like, I can appreciate everybody else, the whole thing with the Shankara stones and the guy with the headdress, and he was serious business, but he wasn't having such a good time.
Jamie, what about you? What's the villain that really stood out for you?
I loved I'm going to say Elsa Schneider again doing double duty, but for a little bit of variety, I'm going to stick with that movie and talk about the Nazi officer. He had some of the best, just non-verbal, just acting, like his facial expressions. My favorite scene in that whole movie, Last Crusade, is when Indy pokes him on the Zeppelin. Ticket, please. And he turns around and you see his eyes and his ears go back right before he gets decked and tossed out. It's just, and just him rising out of the tank like he's on an elevator. He's amazing. He's so much fun to watch.
The casual slap with the gloves. So good.
This is how we say goodbye in Germany. Slap.
Yeah, so good. What a great line.
Hose Nose, what about you?
I am going to stick with Tot as well, because he just scared the shit out of me as a child. Especially with when he gets his hand burnt holding the thing.
Oh my God, scream.
Right? That freaked me out so much. And I also
not the clothes hanger.
Well, I was going to say how he's having fun, and just that funny little joke where you think he's going to pull out some crazy Nazi torture instrument, and it's this collapsible coat hanger. It's oh, brilliant.
Even had Belloc going.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, and also Belloc, I don't know what's wrong with me, but for the longest time I thought he was German. Maybe it's because they're Nazis. Belloc, when as a child, didn't sound like a French name. It wasn't like Pierre Miquelon or anything, right? So it was just
Pierre Miquelon.
I don't know.
So here's a question then. Here's a question for all of you. Is it Belloc or is it Belosh? Because
Belosh.
when Sulla says there's some guy called Belosh, a typical Americanism is, that's not how you say it. It's Belloc. Say it as you see it. So what do you think? Is it Belloc or Belosh?
Well, now
croissant.
That's very interesting because, Indy, when he rolls out of the cave, he really puts the hammer down when he says Belloc. He's taking a piss. So you bring up a strong point.
That's good.
They call him Belosh. They call him Belosh.
Say it right. Chow there. Chow there. What about you, Steve? What villain did you really enjoy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously you've named the best. I think Adversary Rise, though, I do like Belloc. I do like the adversary, the kind of fun adversary they are, but they're also serious at the same time. I think there was an appreciation of both of them, so I did enjoy them going up against each other. But I did it, like Jamie said, number 3 was such a good one. They were up against so many good people in that one too. I can tell you what I didn't like, and that was in number 4, Crystal Skull, with Ray Winston, who's a great actor. I did not at all get into or believe his character's story. I couldn't get into his character. And the same with Kate Blanchett. Love her to death. She's an amazing actress, but I couldn't get into their characters. So the whole plot and bad guy thing was totally lost on me on Crystal Skull. Absolutely. I think that's why I just don't enjoy the movie. They just didn't work for me.
It was a tad over the top. Yeah, for Kate. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I actually, for Shia LaBeouf, I know a lot of people are not a big fan of Shia LaBeouf. And for sometimes good reason. Shia LaBeouf, yeah, I really enjoyed the idea of Shia LaBeouf as the son. It was kind of, for me, it was like when they kill him off for number 5, I was just like, they just fridged Shia LaBeouf. But I get it. I do get it because a lot of people hate it, but I think at that time, I think people would just love to hate. And I don't think he got enough recognition for what he did. I dug him. I really did appreciate who he was. But he was supposed
I think
to
it
be
might have a little bit of self-sabotage in there as well. I don't think it was to do with his character or the way he portrayed the character at all. I think there's a little bit of self-sabotage offset that did it. I don't think he impressed a lot of people with some of his antics. I think that's what it came down to. But the character was fine. I think he played the character fine. He
played the greaser. So,
but is it pronounced LaBeouf or LaBouffe?
LaBouffe. LaBouffe.
LaBouffe.
It's unfortunate that he went through what he went through, and yet what he went through, had they brought him back, what he's gone through would have made him a much more interesting character. As we see the aging Indy, we could also see like this kid's gone through some shit, and it would have been fascinating because he's got chops. He's a good actor. If he could have kept the shit together long enough to make that last movie,
right? I think that's maybe I'm kind of confusing the woulda shouldas rather than what was already up there. I think that's what I'm looking at a lot of the time. Trip says, I've always had a sweet spot for the brute in Raiders who fights at a plane. However, I think we all can agree that the snakes are the best villains. I love the fist fight at the plane. I thought that was great. And they can't speak each other's language, but you can understand this language of the throwing of the fists.
I love how jacked up
I recently
was for a fight.
He was jacked, yes.
He's like, well, yeah, I'm not shooting this guy. We're going to have a good old-fashioned fisticuffs.
I think he was also
I was recently just he was the guy in the turban on the conveyor belt that gets crushed.
He's in Last Crusade as well.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He was?
Yeah.
He's been in a lot of stuff.
In the Nepal as well. He's the guy who they bend over and is like and shoots the Nazi, and then they continue the fight.
He was in Raiders a couple of times. Yeah, in Last Crusade he had a fight scene that was cut. But you can see him in the movie as the Nazi officer. I think he was a colonel. I feel bad, I can't remember his name, but the Nazi officer is running up to the Zeppelin as they're preparing to take off. They run by like a big stack of luggage, and there's a big dude in a black suit with him, and that's him. So like he was there's supposed to be a bit more action there, and he was involved in a fight, but it got cut down.
Steve, what were you saying earlier?
I was just saying I was recently at Disney World, and I went and experienced the Indiana Jones stunt show, which I've heard so much about but never seen before, and that's great. I don't know if has anyone here ever seen that at all.
Just on
so
YouTube.
They actually have a whole stage set up, and they use stunt guys, and they kind of recreate the world of stunts and film and TV, and they have a whole set up. So you see him come through, and he does his thing in the cave, and he gets chased by the ball, and then they strip the set down and they bring out to the streets of Baghdad or wherever it is, and they have a big fight scene there, and then they bring out the plane and they do the fight scene in the plane, and they blow everything up, and it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
Hey,
that
weird to
reminded
say
me of it when you talk about the fist fight.
Hey, weird to say, Bullock is the perfect foil for Indy. He's just as smart, just as resourceful, but far more ruthless. Yes, very
Same
much
as
so.
Elsa Schneider. They're both like the archaeologists and the scholars. They're both super smart. They're just that as Belloc would say, the shadowy reflections.
Marty, when I asked you at the start of the show before we went on air, you said you had a major list of things like that you just love about this. If there was like one thing that you would love to like just people know about Indy and your connection with it, what's something you want to kind of just share and discuss? Something that really just kind of grabs you and such?
About the character or
anything about the character, the movie?
Wow, that's pretty wide open. I think
It is. I'm sorry.
The joy that I still get from it is just how the pace keeps up. They know when to break it with a little bit of calm, but every scene in that film is only like 10 or so minutes long, and they get into something else. Even if it's an exposition scene, it might be a few minutes. I can tell you one thing that to this day just keeps spinning in my head. When they've come out of the Well of Souls and the snakes, the true bad guys of the film, all the snakes, and Salah is running across, and they come into the tent, and he sees, "Holy smokes, my friends, I'm so glad you're not dead." And he's saying, what's going on? Then they start to look at they're like laying on the bank, and they see the action. And then there's that really bad voiceover where they're clearly all in a studio speaking very lowly and quietly. But anyway, he's like, "All right, I got to figure out how to do this. Truck, plane, get to Cairo, meet me at Omar's."
Oh,
Omar? Okay. So bear with me. So then after the best scene in any film of all times, the truck chase scene, he whips around, they go into and then drop the veranda thing and the fruit carts in front of Omar's garage. Hosnose, earlier you said the magic word. You said the word fixer. I think I'm going to write a script about this. Omar's the fixer. Omar's the fixer from like the early 1900s who took on Salah, the street kid, and trained him up. But Omar's the guy. I think Omar's the guy. They never touched on him again. So that just because it was a hinted at thing and they did speak his voice, I want to know more about Omar. I think that'd be an amazing like prequel story.
I like that.
Because then
did Omar double cross them then and rig it so the Germans would drive off of them?
No, I think Omar is like he's the guy. Like he just makes stuff happen. And he trained Salah back in the day when he was young. I think he doesn't like that the Nazis are there, but he's smart enough to stay under the radar. He just has his like casual little garage as his front, but he's making some big moves and trying to, bring a little sabotage. That's my working theory so far is.
Okay.
Omar's
so we want to see your next thing on the story of Omar. We want to bring that
coming.
Bring that to fruition. Bring that to fruition.
Something.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you guys. I have this book with me. It's an old book. It's from Star Wars to Indiana Jones, the best of Lucasfilm archives. This is a book I've had for quite a while. Me and Neil were looking through this book when it first came out. It's got some great pictures. It's one of those coffee table books. And him and me would have this discussion of if you could take one thing from the set, what would it be? And I remember him talking about him giving his left nut for this item. So I'm not going to ask you to sacrifice any body parts, but Jamie, I'm going to ask you if there was one thing you could take from the set of any of the original 3 movies, what would it be?
If I didn't already have one, it would be the hat, hands down. God, you know what? I think it would have to be the Holy Grail.
The Grail itself, eh?
Yeah.
Choose wisely. You're talking the Carpenters.
The Carpenters. Yeah. The proper one.
What about you, Hosnose?
I stole them. I was definitely going to say that hat, and then closely followed by the wooden Grail.
See, this is why
I also when I have to go to something and somebody has to choose something, I always quote, "He chose poorly." Always.
Every time. Steve 3. One thing
I
would get
the staff head. I don't know why the staff head. That whole scene is one of my favorite scenes. It's the scene I just always love. So I think I would get the staff head because of space danger of anything else.
Solid.
Didn't you have that hiding behind you last week?
Oh yeah, that's just I got the Hasbro one when they brought it out, but it's a ridiculous plastic copy.
Nice.
Hasbro made one. I didn't realize that.
Yeah. They made and if you plug it in, this is the funniest thing. They not only did they make that, they made the sand that comes with it.
Oh my goodness!
And
With
then
the
you
little
can
holes in
select the hole, and if you get the right hole, it lights up.
On both sides. Good. I'm glad there's both sides.
Yeah, both sides. So I'm not digging in the wrong place.
It lights your way to the bathroom.
Does it have
But
a
yeah,
bunch of like
I would
burned Nazi skin on the other side?
no, but that's something you could add. That's something you could add.
Light it up over your stove, kids.
High
Marty, what
quality
about
plastic.
Items, objects.
Something you could take from the set.
Well, I'd have to take it off of Harrison because it's the 3-piece herringbone tweed academic suit that he's wearing when he's talking to FBI
That's a
guys.
good choice. That's a very
Hell
good choice.
yeah.
Smart
Top
suit,
man.
nice thick tweed, good stuff.
There's something about before I give my answer. There's something about his office at home. It's just the old 20s, 30s sort of molding around the house. You go into his through the front door, and they go to that room. Just the molding, the bookshelves full of books, everything. It kind of reminds me a bit of my old my pop's house, just with the crown molding and such. But it's just there's something really lovely about the scenery that I just
You would
dig.
take Indy's home.
No, I would take the I would take
his office.
I just take the office. I need a house, folks. I need to live somewhere.
I am homeless.
I would
Just
actually
the crown molding. Rob's in there with a
Yeah, the
crowbar.
molding.
Yeah, I don't even want the house. I just want the molding around the ceiling.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good idea.
Specific scene, by the way, that house scene. If you go back and watch, that's done in a oneer. That is a single uncut shot, except for literally one cut when you see the close up of the gun, which was to cover Harrison because he'd switched hands at some point in one of the takes. So they literally punched in just to get him back to throw the gun with the right hand. But other than that, from the time Marcus comes up, camera pulls back, the camera zooms in, the camera moves over here, the camera pulls back. They don't cut. It's a thing of beauty. It's one of the most complex shots in the film.
Wow, yeah.
My pick is the same one that Tripp has. I want the Grail Diary. There's something about how important that book is, and the way it's wrapped, and it looks old and used, and this thing's precious. And I even have an old art book. It's a bit bigger than what the Grail Diary is. I called it the Diary of Indiana Jones. It's just because it was just reminded me of the Grail Diary, but it's just there's something about it, how it's wrapped up, and you can flip through it. And I'm wondering if they've ever made a replica at all. There's got to be some company that's made some sort of replica, but I just dig it.
I think there's a lot of people that have too. I think actually friend of the show Brandon at BC DeLorean, I think he went ahead and made his own one.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be wonderful. I know a lot of people also dig the original Golden Idol, where he switches for the
fertility idol.
Right.
Yeah. Is that what it is? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really
another,
cool
that's another one. That's another one I love. And you can get files for that and make it, but you've got to get the realistic eyes in it. You can't just have it has to have realistic. Yeah, like because that's what the way they made it was to have realistic eyes because they were going to make them move, right? So
there's still one little shot where it does. You can just see it. It just flicks.
Oh,
but
really?
They cut out most of that where it was going to like follow Indy around the room, but it does move one time.
Interesting. The Grail Diary always reminds me of like talking about like jobs in the movie thing. I would always love to be in the props and the set deck. And I remember listening to an interview or something with somebody, and they're talking about how decorating in like an office is one of the hardest things because you got to have scraps of paper and sticky notes and all this stuff and all this different bric and brac around. And talking about like Indy's office, some of the curators at the museum, they got stacks of books, and that's not far off from reality, right? So
yeah,
to go to that detail of just like stuff everywhere, right? I think it's really cool.
Tripp says Adam Savage made a really accurate one a few years back. I thought maybe he did. I didn't want to say anything because I was thinking that in the back of my mind because I know he's seen a number of he's made or purchased a number of replica books. I was thinking that was one of them. Hey, weirdos say if he could take one thing, it's the bullwhip. Who wouldn't want a most iconic accessory in adventure cinema? I think that's a great idea too. I know I'm going to cut myself if I ever play with that though.
Yeah, I definitely put an eye
As
out.
kids, did anyone ever almost take an eye out when they were playing with their
100%.
bullwhip? I know you all had one. I had one.
Just a rope.
Yeah.
Just whip a rope or something like that. So
I went at styrofoam cups for the better part of a summer. It got pretty good.
Oh,
Nice.
It would never be in the face though. It'd always be in the other region that you don't want to get a little whip.
I want to ask you guys this. You've heard of this theory. It's not the first theory I mentioned off air a while back. This is another theory called the carbonite dream. Do you guys know about the carbonite dream?
I like where you're going with it.
yeah.
So it's just a theory. It's a fan thing. I don't put any seriousness into it. But the idea is that the story of Raiders of the Lost Ark happened during the time when Han Solo went into Carbonite Dream. So he's in the Carbonite. He's stuck there on the wall of Jabba the Hutt, and all these adventures happen while he's stuck in Carbonite. And by the time Indiana Jones, I think the third one ends, he comes out of Carbonite, is rescued by Leia. It's just this weird sort of fan theory. I dig it.
Want some carbonite. Anybody got any carbonite?
We got some ice. We can pop you in there like Walt Disney if you want.
I'll take some powdered carbonite, please.
Yeah.
Have you heard the theory that Indiana Jones and Jamie? I love what you were talking about earlier about this. The idea, this is brought up especially during the Big Bang Theory, that Indiana Jones had no effect whatsoever on the original movie. Things could have happened the way it did, and if he was there or not.
I don't believe that. I don't believe
Why
that.
is that?
We talked about that before. I think you need Indiana Jones. Indiana Jones needs to be in the movie for it to be steered the way it steers.
Why is that?
Because he's creating the story. He's creating the stuff that if he wasn't there in minute one, then he wouldn't have interrupted the getting of the staff. If he hadn't have interrupted the getting of the staff and they'd have got the staff head, they would have found the Ark and it would have been game over. So even by him going there and putting Marion off and letting her know about the thing made her avoid giving it to the Germans. So if he didn't show up and make her think about this thing, maybe she would have sold it to the Germans if she didn't know Indiana, because she reignited that internal love for him, right? So she wants to give him, she doesn't want to give it to the Germans, and she needed the money. So let's think about that. If that hadn't have happened and he hadn't have grabbed it and they didn't dig in the wrong place, then they wouldn't get to where we got to in that first place. The time wouldn't have been wasted and India wouldn't have been out there to stop them.
I'm sorry, I'm having troubles following that. I mean, I'm thinking like they would have gotten the medallion, wouldn't they?
Yeah, but they would have been digging in the wrong place because they got it off the back of his hand. So if he wasn't,
they were digging the wrong place because they didn't have the medallion. If they had gotten the medallion off,
one side.
So, but if Indiana hadn't been there, they would have gotten the medallion off of her. Marion would have been dead. Stick it on the staff. They've got the thing, and they still would have died because they're all staring into the abyss.
So what? I guess what that theory is saying then, regardless of the whole movie, if the Nazis had got the Ark would have taken out the Nazis anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
That I think that clear. Yeah, that's more closer to the theory. In the end, it would have.
Here's the thing. The thing, and I've got to counter this because otherwise, what's the point of doing a show? If Indy wasn't tied to that post, right, with Marion and been chasing the Ark and knew about the Ark, then the Ark would have been lost forever because no one would have known it was on the island.
Yeah, it'd be on a tiny island.
Right. And no one would have known about it. And luckily for us, it was taken by the Americans and locked in a massive warehouse to do nothing with forever and ever and ever. So if it wasn't for Indiana Jones, they wouldn't have confiscated the world's most precious item and locked it away forever.
Indiana Jones is the bad guy of this whole series, isn't he?
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Him and Marcus, evil people.
In cahoots.
Yeah.
If you think of it this way, maybe someone would have found the Ark and protected it better than what the Americans did, just sticking it into the warehouse. Maybe they would have.
No.
No,
Yeah, they
that's
would
that's
open.
just no.
Nope.
Okay.
It'd be in the
They'd
British
melt their
Museum.
faces off immediately.
Be in a Greek museum, if anything.
No, it'd be in the British Museum with everything else they stole. Hey-o.
And if you didn't have Indiana Jones, you wouldn't have Indiana Jones and Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you wouldn't have a movie.
It's not about the movie. It's about the events of the arc.
It's
That's
not
what
real.
the theory is about. You're telling me this isn't a documentary, sir?
It's not real.
Okay, well,
As long as
I can't
we got
argue
to
with that.
see those two heads melt at the end,
oh god,
I don't care who's in it.
that was just freaky, wasn't it? That was
That
just
was freaky, but-
amazingly freaky.
That was amazing practical effects.
Yeah.
Those effects guys had so much fun thinking that up. Those are
Yeah.
both.
Did you ever
Standing.
see the behind the scenes of the melting of the head? They had one of those blast heaters, like those blue flame, almost like a jet engine blast heater, up against the wax dummy off camera, and they blasted it, and so it just did all melt down. It's crazy. But I mean, Belloc gets his head blown up. He catches fire.
That's true. Yeah.
He's tortured with fire for a number of minutes, and then his head blows up. That's pretty brutal.
It's pretty
The Wrath of
hardcore
God.
for a PG film. I know they had
Yeah.
to put in a curtain of flame elements in front of that because the critics were like, or the censors were like, no.
Yeah.
You want your
So-
PG?
so
Hide that a little bit.
being all fans of this franchise and having all the facts that we're not going to go through all of them and all the rest of it, but did this one was a PG, correct?
It was.
I believe so. Yeah.
Because I know that Temple of Doom created the PG-13 because it was just a little bit tippity top over what they wanted to
And
have as far
Gremlins.
as scariness goes.
Yeah.
And Gremlins. So, but
Yeah.
Raiders didn't. Raiders, the blowing up of someone's head after burning it and the melting of someone's face off did not deem necessary a 13, right? It was still a PG.
Nope. Come on in, kids.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was-
I
it
thought.
was a
I
straight
thought it was
PG.
Temple of Doom. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I felt that the Temple of Doom was much more frightening as a kid than anything that Raiders did, or especially Last Crusade.
They were
So-
ripping hearts out. Of course,
Yeah.
it's more terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that alone. But then, yeah, the alligators, the monkey brains, the snake babies, the eyeball soup. Like I can go
That
on.
was gross.
The bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bugs. One of the best
We have-
scenes ever, man. Is in the spike-ridden ceiling coming down when it crushes his hat, and you just know it's all about to end. That's
Are going to
to
die.
die. It's one of the best.
Yeah. And don't forget child slavery, guys. That was all in there too, as Tripp says.
Good
And then
times.
there's that.
Good times.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We haven't talked about Short Round. What do you guys think?
Short
Marty,
Round's-
what about Short Round? Do you dig? I dig him.
I love it. I thought it was a great counter for such a serious film. Like it was nice that they had some comedy for the lightning effect there, and they played well off each other. I liked it. Short Round could bring out Indy's inner kid as they could argue
Mhm.
about silly things. It was fun. I like that whole aspect of it.
Yeah.
Do you guys think he crossed the line at all to that? When we watch child actors, a lot of the time where they're balancing that line of just being precocious to loving to just over the line. So I thought he straddled the line quite well. He was enjoyable. He balanced out the screaming girl all the time. So
The screaming girl.
I'm sorry, it's my brain is off today. Kate Capshaw, like just
But-
this Willie's
yeah.
screaming all the time was just too
Yeah.
much.
Part
for
of
me.
Short Round's appeal is that Indy treats him like an adult.
Yeah.
He treats him like a partner, not like a kid. I feel like that did a lot of heavy lifting for the audience to kind of legitimize Short Round being there. That and showing Short Round's capable and he just takes everything in stride. But yeah, Indy treats him like a partner.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
that's huge.
I love the card game around the campfire. That's so good.
He cheats.
So good.
There's
Was that when
genuine
she's-
expression? That smile
Yeah.
on his face. That was
Yeah.
some genius acting. For
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. And they let him run with it too, right? From what I remember in all the documentaries I've watched, is because he wasn't great at reading script, right? He didn't have a great understanding of the English language at the time when he was doing it. So they let him kind of ad lib some of the stuff to make it more real. And I think that was one of the things you got back in those days. I talk about it a lot, of the nostalgia of most movies is seeing the kids that we see go on these adventures just be real, you know? They're just real. They're just enjoying themselves filming it.
Ali says Marion is greater than Willie. I can't agree more.
I don't think there's anybody on the planet who would argue that point, Ali.
Steven Spielberg. Oh, you're even saying maybe not even him. Okay.
Yeah.
Trip says, I wish Short Round showed up in Indy 5. I would have loved that. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
I think there's space for him to come back.
And it was cool seeing them reuniting at the Oscars too.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah.
So nice.
Do you think we can do any more Indiana Jones from here on in? I mean, after, can we go back and do it like...
No, I agree.
Except for my
agree. Yeah.
He doesn't young Indiana Jones.
He doesn't have to be in that, Marty. You're free to do whatever you want. Indy doesn't need to show up in that because he never went to the garage.
Yeah, I think maybe if he and Sala meet at some point, that could be kind of the end. You just see like the back of his head and maybe the hat. That's all. Cut out.
Maybe. And it would end. The end scene would be him in the garage seeing Indy drive by and going, "What the." Because he was supposed to
It's a short movie, is it?
Well, I was wondering if I was kind of thinking that I heard this somewhere. Somebody was saying like maybe if they treated Indy more like the Bond series, so it wasn't Harrison getting older and older. It was just like, and now it's just a new Indy. What do you guys think? Would that have worked or no?
I don't think so. I don't think I think at this point, while Harrison Ford is still with us, I don't think there will be another Indy movie. I really don't. But I wouldn't put it past, at some point in the future, we see some sort of rebirth of Indiana Jones. But not while
Harrison Ford does seem to be pretty possessive of the role.
Mm-hmm.
Did any of you guys watch the video game awards?
No.
You're talking about the Great Circle. So they had Troy Baker out there talking about the game. He played Indy in the game, and Harrison Ford came out, and his paraphrase, he basically said if he knew Troy Baker was going to do that good of a job, he would have done it himself, because it feels like he felt a little bit threatened that someone else can come in and do a good job in the role.
Have you played the video game, Jamie?
Yeah, it's great.
It's good, eh? Okay, maybe I got to check it out then. So shout out to Mackie, by the way. Hello, Maggie. And also Trip says, make an indie movie with the guy who did Young Han Solo. So maybe. No. But
No.
I was thinking,
I could come through the internet and punch you, Trip. I would.
They
You don't
did a
talk
young
Trip like
Indiana
that.
Jones, though. And we didn't talk about
Dude,
that
Young
at
Indy
all.
was great.
Was it good? I hadn't seen
Yeah,
a
it was
single
awesome.
episode, sadly.
Yeah,
It's worth checking out.
Yeah, okay, I might have to do
back
it.
and forth in time. There's plenty of enjoyment there.
Yeah,
I'm
it
gonna
was
have to
awesome.
dig that up. Okay.
That's- In prep for this, I was disappointed to see all the indie stuff other than the last one are off Disney Plus.
Wait,
It
what?
is, eh?
Yeah, because I wanted to obviously go and watch the movies, but I also wanted to watch the TV show, and it's all gone.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I had to pull out the
The
DVD
movies.
to
The
watch it.
movies are on Disney Plus still.
Nope.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they
At
are.
least
I
not in
watched it.
Canada.
I literally had this conversation with Ali the other day. Is we went to watch it because Indiana Jones is my Christmas movie. So not only did I watch Die Hard the night before, and at 12 o'clock watch Hands Fall from the Building at the chimes into Christmas Day. On Christmas Day, while I'm doing all my cooking and enjoying the day, I'll have Indiana Jones: Raiders of the Lost Ark playing. It's a go-to Christmas movie for me. But we went to find it on streaming, we couldn't find it. And then the other day when we were doing this originally, I went back on the Disney Plus and I searched for Indiana Jones and I found it in there again, but it was on Hulu, I believe. But
So
I swear to God, it was on there.
Hulu's
on Disney
different
Plus.
in Canada
Mhm.
because we
Yeah.
don't have Hulu.
Well, yeah,
as
you
a
got
service.
FX. Yeah, but it's all owned by Disney, right? So Disney had
Well,
it, but it's Paramount rights, right?
Paramount still
Paramount owns
owns
the rights
rights.
to Indiana Jones.
I think we're owned
Yeah.
by Disney at this point. So
Yeah, I was disappointed. Hopefully, it comes back at some point.
Yeah,
We got to wrap it up
go
here,
and
guys.
Go and check it again. Go and check it again because I
I
swear
checked
it
it
was on the
yesterday.
last week.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Really?
Yeah. I checked it 2 days ago, 3 days ago, because I wanted to watch the movie and I had to pull up the DVD to do it. So
Yeah,
Okay.
Dial of Destiny and the documentary are the only indie things on Disney.
yeah.
Wow, that's weird, man.
So we got to wrap it
Have
up.
you ever
Marty,
seen
sorry,
I was just going to dive in. This could be my last thing. Are we doing
Yes,
the last
please.
things?
Yes, I was actually going to
So
ask you party words here.
If you really love this, Steven Soderbergh did kind of like a black and whiteification. He stripped the color of Raiders and put some really weird music on it, and then posted it on this site. And you can still find it; it's still up there. I'd recommend like choosing your own music or just listening to it silent, but to watch it in black and white without the sound. I don't know if this is appealing to anyone except the purest of nerds, but watching films without sound is really informative. Watching them in black and white without sound, you'll gain a whole new level of appreciation. I think just to see what an amazing film it is as far as a piece of cinema.
Black and white.
Yeah.
Yes.
The link now.
Yeah. Stripping
Steven
out
Soderbergh?
John Williams, sacrilege.
I will definitely check that out.
You could place it with like some old timey piano player.
And you hear the clacking of the film.
Yeah, the old timey piano version of the
piano
John
roll,
Williams.
that's all you get.
That'd be great.
Indiana Jones to the
And the
tune of
movie's
the
right
entertainer.
outside.
So, first of all, Marty, thank you for popping by again. I'm so glad you brought this up. It was great talking. I think this is a topic that we could have talked for hours upon days when it comes to Indiana Jones. And I think in the future,
sure.
maybe we will focus, pick a movie at a time in the long run. But thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join us. Where can people find you, Marty?
Yeah, you'll never find me. I'm very wily. I do have an Instagram. I'm running an Instagram, but I'm finding less and less reason to. But anyway, my name, Marti Matulis, and also what I'm doing more is I've shot video for years, and obviously cinematography is a big love. So I'm trying to figure out what to do with all my video footage on a YouTube channel that's also under my name, just at Marti Matulis. So those are the two places out there in the socials where I'm relatively active.
You'll blend in, disappear. You'll never find him. With any luck, he's got the Grail already.
He's in Omar's garage.
Water? No thanks, madam. Fish make love in it.
Steve 3, where can we find you, sir?
Right now, you'll find me on Instagram under Shitspackle Muppet Fart, or you can find me at Steve 3D. And I'm taking on the push-up challenge for the next 2 weeks. I think it is. We got to do 2,000 push-ups in that time frame of 10 days, and we're raising money for mental health awareness in Canada. So keep an eye on the feed. See if I'm going to keep up with it. Today I had to do 120, and I'm just over halfway. So after this, I got to pump out some push-ups.
That's a lot of push-ups per day.
Yeah.
It is. And this weekend as well, just on talking of raising money and awareness, there might be a surprise live this Sunday of finally unboxing the Ghost. And they're going to team up with Ryan and Paul. So join Paul's channel, Paul's Young Unleashed Bitteration Dude channel, and watch us unbox our Ghosts and see if they will actually fit in the areas we thought we could fit them. And any super chats that come in, we're going to be donating.
Phrasing?
To,
We're still doing phrasing.
Yeah. We're gonna be. He's kindly said that any super chats that come in, he's going to donate to the causes here for the LA wildfires. So it should be, if we can make it work, it'd be fun. So Sunday afternoon, evening, keep an eye out. Sick. And just see if we've all doomed ourselves with the largest Hasbro ship that we can possibly buy and not be able to fit onto our shelf.
I was going to say, it sounded a little dirty. You saying we're all unboxing our Ghosts. Sounds like a euphemism.
Well, okay, well, join in and see.
I have to now.
That's my clickbait. I'll be unwrapping my Ghost and see if it fits.
Ozos, where can we find you, sir?
I'm on the gram, as the kids say. Hose Nose Paints for all your mediocre D&D figures. I got a couple new pieces up finally. I threw at my players' last game, which they quickly defeated.
So that's
Speaking
it?
of defeated,
After all of that great creativity and painting for this character, it's now done.
Yeah. I spend weeks painting a thing, and they kill it in about 5 minutes. Yeah,
Dude, you gotta get better.
that
at
sounds
rolling.
like a sword fight compared to a gun show here. Was it one of those incidents?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a good DM.
Did the
gotta get
players
better at
did the players get upset stomachs and decide just to shoot them rather than fight them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Jamie, where can we find you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube on the Generation X-Wing podcast YouTube channel, on our ongoing show, Ready to Believe, or we're still talking all things Ghostbusters.
All right.
One day again.
Yeah, we got spring break coming up. You and me, we're gonna get together and record some more stuff. As for me, Outer Rim Rookie on our YouTube channel. There's a new video coming out actually Friday. I'm going to be. It's actually a very different video than what we typically do. I did a GeoGuessr, but basically connected with Camping with Steve, one of my favorite new YouTubers out there. Not new. He's not new. He's been doing it for years. It's new to me. God damn it. And I built a GeoGuessr based on where is Steve stealth camping. So I'm more Steves in my life. Can't be
Wow,
sad about
I'm
that.
fascinated with your addiction to the Steves.
Yes, it's fantastic. People are stealth camping. People are fitting ghosts up places. It's fantastic. Also, I'm doing Steve 3 was talking about a push-up challenge. I'm in March. I am doing the Climb the Wall fundraiser. The goal is to get $550.77. I'm already up to $361. I did want to give a special thank you to Lady Di, Stephen, Cynthia, Hose Nose, thank you, Tino, Jamie, and I really appreciate the donations that have been coming in for that. Almost there to the goal, and the team itself, I'm on the 501st team. We've raised a lot of money, so we're looking good this year, so keep it going. Thank you again, Marty, for the time you take and everything you do. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you soon. And thank you to all those people who are tuning in live. We really appreciate the feedback, really appreciate you guys coming and saying hello. It really means a lot to us here, and we hope to see you guys soon. We don't know when our next episode is. It's a bit chaotic on this side of the screen, but we will have one coming soon, so stay tuned to our social media. All the best, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank
Bye.
you so much, Marty. We're still live, but I got to do a quick intro. So Marty, don't go away just yet. I'm going to do a quick intro for the start of our audio show, and just I will do a quick intro and then say, and we're joined by Marti Matulis, and you can just give a little hi as we do it. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. It is episode 453 of the Generation X-Wing podcast, and we're talking about the Indiana Jones. One more time. Sorry, screwed that up. It is episode 453 of the Generation X-Wing podcast, and we're talking about Indiana Jones, and we are joined by special guest Marti Matulis. Say hello, Marty.
Hello, Generation X-Wing. Indiana Jones is my spirit animal.
More of that soon, so stay tuned. That's perfect. Thank you so much. Again, thank you for everybody who's tuning in live. We're going to end the stream here, but thank you so much. We really appreciate everybody.
Don't forget my birthday on Monday. I'll be looking for all the happy birthdays.
Monday. Mark your calendars. Bye.